Romulans to defend a Klingon outpost, this war, which the Federation is badly losing, could be averted. It's a brilliant setup as time travel stories go, but once again it manages to pack in moments of poignancy in unexpected ways, primarily in the return of Tasha Yar, having avoided her death during the events of Skin of Evil. Under this new writing team, Tasha Yar is finally given some real depth, and it makes one wonder how the show would be different had Denise Crosby remained part of the cast. Once again, the focus on character turns a classic time travel plot setup into a tense emotional drama. Ultimately, it's a story about self-sacrifice. No one truly knows for sure if Guinan's intuition is correct. The only certainty for anyone in the final act of this episode is death in battle. But it's this capacity for self-sacrifice in the hopes of forging a better future which defines many of Star Trek's core themes and turns yesterday's Enterprise into yet another classic episode. A slightly less appreciated episode from this season is another Data-centric story, The Offspring. To everyone's surprise, Data reveals he has created a child for himself who develops into a young woman named Lal. Offspring conjures up similar ideas as The Measure of a Man did, albeit with a slightly different twist. Naturally, Data sees this as a perfectly ordinary act, with himself as the default father figure. However, due to their status as artificial lifeforms, the creation of a second positronic android sends many Starfleet higher-ups into a panic, with visiting Admiral Haftel suggesting removing Lal from Data's custody by force. As the debates continue, Lal develops rapidly, eventually exceeding Data's own emotional capabilities. Haley Todd's performance is simply wonderful. She echoes many of Brent Spiner's own mannerisms, but instills the character with a personality unique to her own. What makes the story especially powerful is its tragedy. A reset button of sorts hangs over the episode like a sword of Damocles from the pre-title sequence, although that doesn't make it any less saddening when Lal's rapid development cascades into an irreparable breakdown of her systems. I have to say, on my most recent rewatch, I was struggling to hold back the tears during this particular scene.
For my life.
It's illustrative of just how much the writing for The Next Generation improved that a goodbye scene between two emotionless robots can be so heartbreaking. A more light-hearted later episode, though, was the introduction of a fan-favourite character in Hollow Pursuits. The hapless Reginald Barclay slacks on his engineering duties to spend more time in a holodeck fantasy world where he can play a confident, capable ladies' man and swashbuckler, putting to rights holographic counterparts of those he often ends up on the wrong side of. When Geordi discovers his fantasy life, he endeavours to try and help Barclay come out of his shell and live up to his potential. Perhaps as an answer to the sometimes too perfect morally upstanding future superhumans of Roddenberry's earlier edicts, Barclay appears as a far more relatable character for the audience. Someone who feels nervous in social situations, has shaky confidence at best, and isn't completely in love with life aboard a starship, more than likely describes aspects of a good chunk of the show's audience. It's a refreshing change of pace, and Dwight Schultz is sublime in the role, using his skills as a career character actor to switch effortlessly between fantasy life and real-life Barclay. The warped holodeck versions of the main characters were no doubt loads of fun for the actors to play, and certainly loads of fun for the viewer. It's no wonder Barclay would appear in several more TNG episodes, and make further appearances in later Star Trek spin-offs. Season 3 had clearly won over many critics as it drew to a close. The show was coming close to surpassing the number of episodes in the original series, but it was the third season finale which would see The Next Generation surpass its predecessor as a definitive incarnation of the franchise in many viewers' minds. This was the best of both worlds. A year after their first encounter, the Federation's worst nightmare comes true, with the Borg launching an invasion of the Federation, and the first line of defense is the Enterprise. Just like in Q-Who, the Borg in their second appearance feel like an insurmountable threat, with the viewer truly not knowing how our heroes can possibly triumph without Q being there as an on-hand Deus Ex Machina. Having worked around the clock to develop a new weapon against the Borg, the Enterprise successfully engages the enemy ship, but with reinforcements many miles away, it's a near hopeless battle. The character drama for the episode comes in the form of Commander Shelby, a Borg specialist posted to the Enterprise who's looking to replace Riker as first officer since he has been offered his own command. This puts Riker in a tough spot as he suddenly finds himself unsure of his ultimate goal with his Starfleet career and upstaged by a younger and more ambitious officer. Riker's character arc is cleverly used to prolong the tension and borderline torture the audience as several puzzle pieces of plot information slot together by the episode's end. Riker is unsure about taking on responsibility and becoming captain. Picard is kidnapped off the bridge of the Enterprise. An away team searches for him, at first finding only his uniform, compounding the sense of dread the audience feels. This leads to the shock of Picard, our stalwart captain, having been assimilated into the Borg collective. With a rescue mission deemed impossible, and with only one chance to use their new weapon, the episode builds into one inevitable conclusion.